I will not be subjecting myself to the public humiliation of showing you my screen time. Just know it's bad. I'm an addict. All of the things I love to do seem to come second place to scrolling nowadays. I've made one painting this year. One. And I have a list of like 47 other ideas that's just waiting on me. I just can't seem to ever get around to them. However, I do have roughly 1,000 videos of other people painting in my watch history. Let's not jump to any judgment though. The average American spends 7 hours on screens a day, 2.5 of those on social media. In fact, 1 in 4 people now consider scrolling to be a genuine hobby, with 1/3 of those saying it's actively stopping them from pursuing real ones, according to this 2024 survey. It's not entirely surprising. Something easier came along. Apps designed to keep you there, built to be as hard to put down as possible. Notifications timed to pull you back the second you leave, and a feed that never ends. It's brain candy, and your brain never wants to stop reaching for it. Now I know history is full of the fear of new technology and the world kept spinning anyway, even all the way back to Socrates. One of the greatest minds in history thought books would destroy memory, promote intellectual laziness, and offer the appearance of wisdom rather than true understanding. But what makes this new technology, scrolling, specifically bad is that it's engineered to be addictive. It's endless. It's like a slot machine or those bottomless breadstick baskets from Olive Garden. Do you know how many billions of dollars was spent making sure you can't put this thing down? I think it's catching up to me. I feel like my brain is turning to mush. I can't walk through a doorway without forgetting why I went in there. I forget what I'm writing mid-sentence. My brain is always running, always buzzing, completely scattered until I start scrolling. I've always been an overthinker, but now I reach for the phone to stop the thinking, which I'm pretty sure is just a loop that's making it all worse. I heard someone the other day point out that my generation will be the first generation to die with more memories of other people's lives than our own. And for the first time ever, if we don't want to think, we genuinely do not have to, which is scary. So anyway, I built my phone a little house to put it in for the next 72 hours. I intend to figure out exactly what will change if I take away scrolling and if it's worth it. This little experiment is not really about proving I can give up scrolling. I know I can, but I actually really enjoy scrolling, you know? The real question is why I keep choosing it, specifically over the things I actually love to do. I genuinely can't remember the last time I chose painting over my phone without having to talk myself into it. And that seems like a problem worth 72 hours of my time. Alright, some rules for this experiment, because the goal is really to go from consuming to actively doing things instead, like replacing that, rather than just like giving up my phone entirely. So that means I'm also not going to be watching movies, TV shows, podcasts, or even YouTube videos, but I will allow myself to listen to an audiobook at night if I want to. And I'm going to keep listening to music because I cannot do certain things like cleaning without a soundtrack. So my phone will be spending time in the gel, but not the whole time because my phone is also my calculator, my navigation, my grocery list, a camera that will help me film this video. So I kind of need it. Sorry if that sounds like cheating, it's just a phone is not only a phone anymore. Lastly, I am going to limit my Googling. I know that since I'm not allowing myself really to look up how-to videos on TikTok or YouTube or whatever, I will be wanting to use Google instead. But I feel like that kind of defeats the purpose of this video as well because I'm trying to force myself to actually think and make my own decisions instead of looking up a random person on the internet's opinion of what the perfect and right thing to do is. All right, rules established. Let me introduce you to the tracker. The Patient Progress Report. At the end of each day, I will be doing a check-in where I can cover a few things like my mood, my energy, creativity, restlessness, motivation, and happiness level. Also, I will assign each day a word of the day. Then I will list all of the things I did instead of scrolling here in this box. Lastly, in this bottom section, I will be giving myself gold stars for things that I think deserve a star. All right, the 72 hours begin now. Some research shows that it's easier to replace a habit than it is to just stop the habit, so I'm replacing scrolling with things I've been meaning to do, like tasks I've been putting off and fun activities I never seem to get around to, which means I need to grab a few supplies. This is the first time I've seen fabric at Michael's. There's a specific craft I've been wanting to do that requires buttons, so I found a nice bag of those and I'll be doing that later. I couldn't help myself and stopped by the cake decorating aisle because as a kid that was something I loved to do. I even entered one in a cake contest at the Nashville Fair, but I didn't want to commit to all of that today, so instead I'm just going to buy some ingredients to bake a cake. That's something I also loved doing as a kid, and I even sold a few cheesecakes and pumpkin rolls. Next, I headed to a local coffee shop to finally color my first page in this watercolor coloring book from Inky Paper House. I'm going to leave a link below to her coloring book because it's beautiful and you should definitely check it out and support her. It's funny because I always feel better getting out of the house and doing things like this, even if it's just taking my work to a cafe. But for some reason, I don't do it that often. Well, if I'm being honest, it's partially because a latte is like $9 in Nashville, but also because staying home feels much easier. That's kind of the whole point of this video, I'd say. I know I like going to coffee shops and I've been wanting to paint in this coloring book for months, but for some reason it took making this video to get myself to do something I want to do. So now I want to know why that is.
I've almost dipped my paintbrush into my chai tea here multiple times now.
Instead of this just being a 3-day hobby vlog of me doing random things, I plan to actually get some answers about this. What's going on with me and what scrolling is doing to my brain. And I'll report back with what I find at the end of the video.
I've just been painting for like the last hour, which is nice. I got into like a flow state, was just doing that and not thinking about my phone. But now that I've stopped, I immediately like feel like I'm supposed to reach for my phone and reward myself with some scrolling. Ironically, going to reference a TikTok I saw the other day right now, but I saw a video of a guy that was talking about the differences of being in America versus in France. It was his first time in Paris. And one of the things he was talking about was the cafe culture. Like, literally, there's people that will go to cafes and just sit there for like an hour and people watch. So I think I'm going to attempt to do that.
I'd say I made it about 3 minutes before I felt like I was going to make everyone around me uncomfortable, but I did it. I just sat there. Wish it wasn't Paris though. Now that I'm home, I feel like I'm experiencing my first real moment of frustration during this. The first thing I wanted to do when I walked through that door was plop down on the couch, turn my brain off, and just scroll. I feel like I just didn't realize how much I'm avoiding using my brain. Because now that I'm thinking about it, what did I do before? That's such a weird thought, but even so, I just don't know. I feel like everything else that I do in my life requires more active brain power. Like even watching movies or YouTube videos or whatever it is, I feel like that is way less passive than just doom scrolling on Instagram or TikTok. It's pretty scary to think about because it means that I've been like really passive in my own life. I think perhaps that has to do with like not wanting to problem solve, not wanting to have to find the answer or make the decision myself, because I can go to TikTok and see what the reviews on something are so that I know which thing to buy instead of having to make the decision myself. Or I can go to TikTok and search for how-to videos to know the proper way to do something and not have to like figure it out myself. The internet is just full of so many answers. It's interesting because it's not like I'm just consuming entertainment, brain rot type random crap. I'm not like sitting there watching Skibidi Toilet or whatever. It's like, it can be fun facts, history, news, whatever. It can be legitimate things that I'm like learning about, but at the same time, it's still somehow requiring less. Obviously, I know this basic information about it because that's why I'm making this video. But now that I'm like sitting here actually having to think about it, and I'm becoming aware of all these things and like really having to sit with it, you know? Does that make sense? I'm really only like 6 hours into this little experiment, but let's go ahead and do an end of day 1 progress report. I'm going to give myself 1 gold star today because I did attempt to do basically nothing in public at the coffee shop. For the mood, everything was really just average. I got out of the house, there was nice weather, the activities kept me busy. Nothing special, but nice. Phone-wise, I really only started missing it when I got home at the end of the day because that is my prime doom scrolling time. I was legitimately so angry and annoyed that I couldn't like plop down on the couch and just doom scroll and check out for a bit. I was just thinking, why am I forcing myself into this little experiment when I don't have to? If it wasn't for the fact that I'm recording this video right now, I may have just like thrown in a towel and just been like, who cares? I was also thinking, I can't imagine if I had made this a complete no phone challenge, because while I've gotten rid of doom scrolling, I still am using my phone so much for just practical use. Camera, music, directions, my grocery list, Googling if heavy cream and heavy whipping cream are the same thing, coupons at Michael's. It's insane, honestly. Anyway, lastly, I'm gonna say the word of the day for day 1 is curiosity. Mostly because I'm curious if by tomorrow night I will have figured out something that can replace my normal doom scrolling before bedtime, or if I'll still be sitting here annoyed. It's like exactly 3:30, which means we've made it our first 24 hours into this experiment thing. I spent the morning doing like laptop work stuff, so I didn't bother recording that because I didn't want to bore you, but now we're moving on to some more interesting tasks and activities for the day. Starting with signing my little duck painting from my last video, because I've been putting off doing it because I don't know how I want to sign my name. My name is really long. Originally, I was thinking of signing my name like my logo is, which is a cursive LC, but every time I tried doing that on paper, it looked like a fancy H and not my initials. I've been putting off doing that for weeks, and it literally took me like 60 seconds, but I was afraid that I was going to hate it, and I do, so. But at least it's done now. Might as well do another task I've been putting off, which is properly cleaning my paintbrushes. This is my favorite one because it's all places we've been: Yosemite, Rocky Mountains, Valencia, Barcelona, Bulgaria, Lisbon, New York, and then some rats. Yep, it's gonna look pretty good. I'm so excited. I'll hang it up later because I actually want it to be a little darker out so I can use my projector to help me hang it right. Wherever she goes, I'm gonna chase. You're something out of a dream, messing with my head. And I've been looking for you. Are you hiding? 'Cause I like the way you're calling to me. You spell upon me. You're something out of a dream. And I like it, though I fight it. There's a bunch of these little shells here. There's a girl behind me that's rollerblading, which is something I also used to do a bunch when I was a kid. And I've actually been thinking about doing it again lately. It seems like it'd be really fun and a good workout, so I just actually have to go buy the skates. Something has kind of occurred to me over the past day, and that is the fact that one of the reasons I've been avoiding doing all these things that I supposedly enjoy is because I know that I will enjoy them, ironically, because I know how much is happening in the world right now and how many people are not getting to enjoy those things, and so it makes me feel guilty. Like, how can I be enjoying these things and having joy when other people are not? I'm literally using a cardboard box as a nightstand right now, so it's not necessarily that I'm like rich or anything, but I do have this ability that like my job is to make videos and art. I do have the luxury of right now being here at the park when a lot of people don't get that, and I know that. And I think that stopping myself from getting to enjoy these things isn't helping anyone. It's just an excuse I'm using to make myself feel better about feeling guilty. So it really makes me think of some of my favorite movies growing up, like Spirit, Brother Bear, and Pocahontas, because they just had so much freedom and joy despite what was happening, the tensions and stuff in the movies. Humans are really weird. Like, I know I'm not the only one that has like stopped myself from experiencing joy. It's very strange. I just didn't realize how much I've been allowing that to come in the way of me being able to live my own life. This is when it's hard because all I want to do when I get home is lay here on the couch and scroll on my phone. But instead, the phone went directly to Jill and I got back to my past due tasks, starting with hanging the frames from earlier. This is actually a pretty cool trick my husband came up with so we could map out our gallery wall without putting any holes in it in random places. Highly recommend if you happen to have a projector in Photoshop.
You say that you're not around and you don't want to be found.
There's still some gaps like here and up there, but I gotta finish those things before we can hang them up. I'm mostly just happy that this one is now hung up. It's a little weird going from like newly painted and colorful stuff to just brown, and then this one specifically looks a little bit odd, but hopefully it'll be okay once we finish doing everything on the wall. You know, I'm not going to pretend like any of today's tasks were hard and that's why I've been putting them off. They were just really boring. Like I could do the tasks or I could scroll for an hour, and honestly, scrolling sounds better. It's more fun, it requires nothing from me. And you know, what if I just did the task tomorrow? By having taken away the scrolling option, I'm left with only the boring one and my brain accepts it. Shockingly, I actually had a pretty great day doing nothing but mundane tasks. Time for day 2's progress report. Now that I'm like 30 hours into this, I'd say the novelty of it is wearing off, but surprisingly, it's been a little bit easier than yesterday. I did quite a few random tasks this morning that I've been putting off for weeks, and not only was it very satisfying to finally finish them, but it almost seemed easier to just even go and do them. Probably because I knew that doom scrolling to procrastinate wasn't an option, and also because I'm recording this video and that just kind of is a factor of all this. I kind of feel lighter, maybe even a little bit less anxious today. Maybe that's because I haven't really been paying attention to the news, or maybe because it's a perfect spring day today. I even ranked my motivation and happiness higher today than yesterday. I do think that while all the revelations that I seem to be having from doing this are not exactly profound, I've listened to plenty of people advocating against doom scrolling and the benefits of when you stop. There's just something about actually doing it that like really puts it in your brain, you know? I guess I'm like one of those kids where you tell them, hey, don't touch the stove, it's hot, but they have to actually touch it to learn the lesson of, hey, the stove is hot. I'm honestly just surprised by today because while I've had moments where I wanted to scroll, I've actually just forgotten and left my phone all over the house for hours more times than I have had the urge to scroll. My phone is usually like an extension of me, like always with me, but today I guess it was just like a tool that I went and got when I needed it. So with that being said, I think that surprising is the perfect word for the word of the day. And I gave myself 4 gold stars today. I didn't look up outfit inspo this morning. Instead, I used my own brain to make a decision and choose my own outfit to wear. I worked in complete silence, which is something that I have done multiple times, but like I decided to give myself a star for it anyways. As I said earlier, I left my phone somewhere without noticing it missing. And lastly, I touched grass, literally. Now tomorrow, the weather is supposed to be rainy, so we will see if my good mood today and yesterday was because of the weather or because of the phone. We're in the final stretch, the last like 25 hours or so of this little 3-day experiment thing. Unfortunately for me, this morning was a migraine morning, so I didn't really do anything except finish my audiobook, which was Remarkably Bright Creatures. It was very cute, highly recommend. But now that the migraine is over, I am ready to do some fun things this afternoon. I do think I might have been right yesterday when I was saying that the sunny weather was making me more positive and happy, because now that I've had a migraine and it just started pouring down rain like 10 seconds ago, I feel good and content, I guess, but way more calm, less energized, less excited. But I'll get more into how I think the phone is actually affecting me mood-wise later tonight. Finally, time for my bun craft. Earrings! One pro to scrolling is finding inspiration, and Pinterest kept feeding me these adorable earrings a couple weeks ago, so I thought it would be fun to recreate them. You've probably heard of this before, but there's a certain feeling I experienced while making these earrings that I usually experience during art, crafts, and hobbies, but I've never really been able to describe it well. It does have a name though, flow state.
When you're doing something with your hands that requires just enough focus to keep you engaged, but not so much that it's stressful, you enter flow state. It's actually associated with some of the highest reported levels of satisfaction and meaning in human life. I really love the way this Redditor described it. It's euphoric, exhausting, and the best feeling I've ever known. Alright, what do you think? I'm honestly a bit obsessed. I just need a little outfit to match, you know? Perfect! Just ignore the socks, I feel like they don't go with this. Anyway, it is time for the adventure. My local art museum currently has an Impressionist exhibit, definitely not something I can pass up. So I spent the afternoon admiring Van Gogh, Matisse, Pissarro, Signac, Monet, and more. Coincidentally, I recently read a quote from Monet written during World War I that I resonated with and connects back to what I was saying at the park. He said, "Yesterday I resumed work. It's the best way to avoid thinking of these sad times. All the same, I feel ashamed to think about my little researches into form and color while so many people are suffering and dying." The day after the German surrender, Monet offered some paintings to France as a gift. That project became the 2 grand oval rooms of the Orangerie in Paris, where his water lilies hang today as a symbol of peace and a memorial to World War I. I wish he could have known how much joy and peace millions of strangers over the past 100 years have found standing in that room admiring his paintings.
Back home, I tried to scroll multiple times, mostly to procrastinate. On day 1, I obviously thought I would want to bake during these 3 days, but I kept pushing it off. It's weird because I loved baking as a kid, and I definitely love the idea of baking now, but I just couldn't seem to actually want to do it. This honestly feels like the real test. Scrolling versus something fun like going to a museum is pretty easy, but scrolling versus doing something I'm avoiding, much harder. However, scrolling wasn't even an option for me today, so I baked the cake. I wanted to see if I would end up enjoying myself, and I did. Also, I wanted cake. While I baked, I finally got around to reading my Mary Oliver poetry book I got for Christmas. I found the poem, "I Have Just Said," to be very comforting. Gratitude seems to be very healing, and I think it makes you more present. Like, how can I enjoy something if I don't stop to be grateful for it? If I was scrolling right now, I wouldn't be present enough to even do that. Just some random thoughts to end the day. Even though I have the excuse of a migraine putting me out of commission this morning, I still feel like I just was not able to accomplish as much as I was expecting to today. And across all 3 days, actually, I have a long list of things that I was like, oh, I should do this during this time. And I feel like I've only managed to do like half of them. So I guess doom scrolling has not cured my time blindness. Anyway, most days like this where I don't really feel energized and excited throughout the day, they end just feeling kind of flat. I spend the day tired and unmotivated and end it unsatisfied. I think I scroll to run away from doing the things I should be doing when I'm tired and unmotivated, but since I couldn't do that today, I kind of just felt calm all day, more slow, and I would say content, which I have decided is going to be the word of the day. Now, as far as those pesky nighttime urges for scrolling go, I have been way less annoyed about not being allowed to do it. Mostly because I've replaced it with books, which I'm pretty sure is what I used to do up until like 2021. Also along those lines, it's been nice not to participate in revenge bedtime procrastination. Since my days have been fuller, I am tired and ready to sleep, but satisfied, so I don't really feel the need to procrastinate and reclaim my personal time by scrolling. Now addressing the board, as I mentioned, I was not very energetic today, so that's something that went down as compared to the other 2 days. Whereas I actually feel more creative. I think that was because of the earrings, which I absolutely love. Restlessness has been about the same for the past 3 days. I feel like I need a longer experiment to really hone in on how that would change. Motivation was down, and that's probably because energy was down, but still very happy. And I think that along with the creativity are 2 very notable things that have come throughout this experiment. I gave myself 3 gold stars today. 1, I traded instant gratification, scrolling, for lasting satisfaction. I made earrings. As you can tell, I'm like really obsessed with these. Secondly, I read like 20 Mary Oliver poems, so I think that deserves a gold star. And lastly, I admired things that were made over 100 years ago. Now I've decided to do one more thing before I give my final thoughts about the past 3 days, and that is after the 72 hours are up, I'm going to give myself full permission to scroll. I'm just curious, you know, like will I go back to my old ways or am I changed? We'll see. It's dry but chocolate, so no complaints. My little 3-day experiment is officially up, so I've given myself permission to scroll as much as I want to, if I want to. And actually, I don't want to as much. Specifically, that 4th day was a Sunday, and I had a little bit of a leftover headache, so usually on a day like that, I would have wanted to scroll all day. But instead, I was just way more conscious about the fact that I was scrolling, so I chose to listen to an audiobook and play a dumb phone game instead, so I had something to do with my hands. And now that it's a week later, that's pretty much how the week has gone as well. I'm way more conscious about scrolling and the fact that it's not as enjoyable as I thought it was. It was numbing, sure, and numbing is nice sometimes, even when the content isn't great. But it's also just been about the habit, the brain power, and especially the path of least resistance. I was more so just scrolling because other things felt harder, and actually the scrolling made those things feel even harder in the little evil loop that it is. The urge to scroll is still hard to fight. It is an addictive thing, but I'm way more conscious about it and how it makes me feel. I decided I want to learn more about this topic. This is your attention span warning. While the information I'm about to share is interesting, you may want something to occupy your hands, like the free coloring page in my description. Or save this video so you can come back and watch it when you're ready. So I went down the rabbit hole and here's what I found. A lot of it boils down to a term called the effort paradox. This is where your brain predicts effortful things will be unpleasant and then steers you toward the easy option instead. But effortful things, especially creative ones, produce more meaning and satisfaction. Meaning your brain is really just lying to you about what actually feels good. Scrolling is like the easiest thing that has ever existed and has made everything else feel hard in comparison. I feel like I'm in this creative paralysis where I want to make things. I know that creativity fuels me, but the more I scroll, the more doing anything else seems too hard. Hobbies used to be the default thing we did in our free time until scrolling replaced it. And it's not because the hobbies became less enjoyable. It's just because the scrolling is frictionless. It's easy. Hobbies require effort. But I really think we're missing out by choosing scrolling over hobbies. Hobbies build character. They're supposed to be a source of joy that has nothing to do with productivity. They shape you as a person and make you distinctly you. But unfortunately, even if we manage to start a hobby over scrolling, there is something called the plateau. Our brains love starting things but hate the plateau, and so it sends a signal for us to quit. It basically tells you you're not good enough at this, so you shouldn't be doing it. But you know what doesn't have a plateau? Scrolling. How can you fail at that? You can actually just watch someone else do the hobby you're interested in and it still scratches a little bit of that itch. You get a little bit of that secondhand dopamine. Why struggle through learning something when you can watch someone who's already good at it and feel a version of their satisfaction for free? Our little human brains are so dumb because even though we try to avoid the hard thing, there's value in it. We value things that are difficult. Our culture doesn't really care about the process anymore. It's more about celebrating a finished product. But doing activities, creating hobbies, these are things that are fulfilling. They're satisfactory. They give meaning to our lives. But I don't know, a lot of us treat hobbies like they're a bonus feature for a good life. A personality quirk, even though they might be exactly what your brain is craving and missing. There's also this little boredom aspect to it all, even though I thought I wasn't someone who got bored because I have so many interests. But it turns out you can get bored in seconds. And so I was using scrolling like a little bit of a medicine towards that boredom feeling, because boredom is very uncomfortable to us. Humans find boredom painful. It's painful because it's actually a signal, an emotional cue that we should be doing something else. It's actually kind of a creative trigger. There's some studies that show that boredom makes you more creative. But it seems as though we've been trying to get rid of boredom. The name for what your brain is doing when you're not consuming anything is called the default mode network. Scientists used to think it was basically your brain idling, but as it turns out, it's doing some important work. That is when your brain processes emotions, stores your memories properly, comes up with creative ideas, and figures out who you actually are and what you actually think. Which is exactly why there's a running cliche of coming up with your best ideas while taking a shower or having the best daydreams while looking out the car window, because those are times when your default mode network is being used. There's specific brain waves associated with that state called theta waves, which show up when you're relaxed and unfocused. That's when your best thinking happens. We used to access that naturally every time we were bored, but now anytime we feel a hint of boredom, we run away from it. We start scrolling because it's the easiest thing to do. But social media is built for speed and stimulation, and it's training us to focus on surface level aspects. So now that we're shutting off our DMN, we're not really forming ideas. Instead, we're just recycling ideas and opinions. Along those same lines, not only are we switching off our DMN and losing that deeper thinking, but we're also losing our ability to hold a thought. Like me right now. I mentioned in the beginning how I can walk through a doorway and forget why I wanted to go into that room. And there's actually a term for that. It's called perspective memory. It's your brain's ability to hold a thought long enough to act on it. And it degrades with constant interruption. I didn't really go down this tangent that much, but I'm pretty sure this connects back to why everyone keeps talking about attention spans when they're talking about scrolling. Personally, I think it's affecting my spelling abilities a lot lately. Just last night, spell check had to fix my spelling of finalize twice. That is a word that I used to know how to spell for like 20 years of my life. Something else worth noting is how this is affecting our ability to just be somewhere. I've talked a bit about this phenomenon of scrolling, rewiring your brain for constant stimulation, and there's a term for that too. It's called dopamine recalibration. It makes appreciating slower and more ordinary moments a struggle. It's shifting your baseline for dopamine. Scrolling is giving constant novelty, and your ordinary life can't compete with that neurologically. But also, people's attention to the present moment is just going. Think of how many people you see looking at their phone instead of the person across from them when you're at a restaurant. Physically, they're eating together, but mentally, somewhere else. We're missing out on human connection more and more. But to be fair, it's usually less so a character flaw and more so a habit. Scrolling is actually a dissociative behavior, something your nervous system does when it's overwhelmed. It's a way to check out. You end up reaching for your phone before you've even made a conscious decision to do it. It's a very convenient coping mechanism that your nervous system learned. Now, the bigger picture to all of that is this: algorithmic complacency. We're handing out our choices, our entertainment, our thinking to machines. But every tool you gain something from, you lose something too. It's the whole calculator thing. Mental arithmetic has declined because you have a calculator in your pocket 24/7. It's about the lack of use. Cognitive offloading, when you constantly stop making your own choices. What to wear, what to cook, what to think about, what to find funny. You get worse at knowing what you actually want. An algorithm decides what's worth your attention, and you stop developing the judgment to decide for yourself. In this attention economy, in the end, you're not just spending time scrolling, you're changing your brain. An algorithm is shaping who you are. The cost of scrolling is you and your future. Okay, that was a bit dramatic for me, but that is where I landed with this little rabbit hole. And the crazy thing is, I've really only skimmed the surface of this topic. Not to mention, we're probably only 6 years into like infinite scrolling short form videos being a thing, so how many studies have really been conducted on it? Because it is specifically short form video scrolling that's the worst of it all. Over the course of my little 3-day experiment, the longer I spent away from scrolling, the easier it became to choose anything else. And it was so much more rewarding to make my own earrings instead of watching someone else make some. Same goes for my cake. I didn't even realize how much I was missing that bit of fulfillment and meaning that comes from doing those type of activities. Anyway, giving up scrolling is still very hard. I will not be giving it up completely right now because creating content is a part of my career, but I will definitely be adding some guidelines to help prevent doom scrolling and brain rot. I'm super glad I went down this rabbit hole though, because I'm the type of person that works in surges. I'm super motivated going all in for 3 days, and then I need like a full recovery day after that. So I was worried that's what I was feeling during this 3-day experiment and that it wasn't real. But honestly, all of this info that I have learned about doom scrolling shows that it is backed up by studies and science and opinions, I guess. Hopefully knowing why it's so hard and remembering how good it felt when I was not scrolling will help me choose scrolling less, though it's always easier said than done. So what do you think? Are you a part of the 7-hour screen time average? Does knowing all of this make you want to delete your social media? You ready to take up a new hobby? Thanks for watching and learning with me. I would love to read your opinions in the comments below, and if you found any of this scary, wait until you learn about what AI is doing to people's brains. Also, I made some more things. Polymer clay rubber duck and a book thumb holder, page holder.